The NBA League is 75 years old, and it's a league where amazing happens. But it's also a league where the unexpected happens as well. And over the years, we have seen some unbelievable stat lines, broken records, and superstars achieving astonishing feats. Here are the most unusual NBA facts. Steph Curry hit more threes in 2 seasons than Larry Bird in his entire career. Larry Bird came to the league in 1979, the same year the NBA instituted the three-point shot. In the NBA Finals that season, in which the Los Angeles Lakers played the Philadelphia 76ers, both teams made only one three-pointer out of 20 combined attempts in 6 games played. 40 years later, in 6 games of the 2020 NBA Finals, the Miami Heat and the LA Lakers hit a total of 153 threes out of 428 attempts. Larry Bird, who was considered the king of shooters for a long time, had hit only 649 threes in his entire 12-year NBA career. Steph Curry, who has since taken over that proverbial throne, made 688 just in his 2 MVP seasons. It just shows how the game has evolved and how much emphasis there is on the three-pointers in today's NBA. MJ has the worst record in a three-point shooting competition. Entering the 90s, Jordan was the biggest star in the league and was already considered the most complete basketball player ever. Despite all the high-flying dunks and electrifying highlights, MJ had one weakness. He was never a great outside shooter, and he had hit exactly 58 threes the first 5 years of his NBA career, with a minuscule 20% success rate. But in the 1989-1990 season, things started to look up, and Jordan shot an excellent 39% behind the arc before the All-Star break. He decided it was time to break the narrative that he's not a good shooter and to put his name in the three-point shooting contest. Unfortunately for him, he only made his narrative louder, as he had hit only 5 shots out of 25, which remains the worst result ever in a three-point shooting contest. The Utah Jazz won the game after a 36-point deficit. On November 27, 1996, when Utah played against Denver, it seemed that it would be one of the longest and most unpleasant nights to be a Jazz fan. Stockton and Malone trailed the Nuggets by a whopping 36 points, as the scoreboard showed an almost unreal 70-34 score in the first half. I'm sure that Jerry Sloan gave them a good ribbing in the locker room, and it worked, as the roles were reversed in the second half. The Jazz outscored the Nuggets 73-33 over the rest of the game, and won the game 107-103. It was the biggest comeback ever, as there was only one other comeback in NBA history of at least 30 points. Playing for 12 NBA teams. With 10 trades in his career, Trevor Ariza made history during the 2020 offseason as a player who has been traded the most times in NBA history. But because Ariza hasn't even suited up for some of the teams he's been traded to, and because he was traded to the same teams multiple times, he's played for a total of 9 franchises, which is 3 shy of an NBA record. Chucky Brown, Jim Jackson, Tony Mossenberg, and Joe Smith were 4 players who share the unflattering record of playing for 12 different teams, and are a true embodiment of the term journeyman. Dennis Rodman, 7 games with 0 points and 20-plus rebounds. Some say that Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain are the best rebounders ever, but people who are looking at numbers through more context will all agree that there hasn't been a rebounder better than the Worm, Dennis Rodman. While Russell and Wilt played almost 48 minutes a night, with the fastest pace and lowest field goal percentage in league history, Dennis led the league in rebounding for 7 straight years, while averaging 35 minutes a night. In the era where the pace was much slower, Rodman was one of the most unique characters in league history, both on and off the court. But you always knew what you were going to get out of him. He wasn't going to be on time and sober all the time, and he won't care about scoring the ball. But you know that he's going to play suffocating defense, and that he is going to out-rebound every 7-footer out there, even though he's only 6'7". There have been a total of 10 games with 0 points and 20-plus boards in NBA history, and Rodman had 7 of them. He holds the record with 28 rebounds without a point, and he even had a game with 20 rebounds without a single field goal attempt. Lebron is the only player to average 25 points per game for 16 straight seasons. As the old saying goes, the best ability is availability. And there haven't been many players in the NBA that embody this saying more than LeBron James. The King has never suffered a serious injury in his career, and because he invests more than $1 million a year to keep his body in shape, He's still widely considered as the best player in the world at the age of 36. And even though he's a natural passer who averages more than 7 assists per game, he has a great chance to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer. He currently sits in third place, behind Karl Malone and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but if he stays healthy, James will likely surpass both of them in the upcoming years. LeBron is the only player in NBA history to average over 25 points in 16 seasons, and he did it in every year except his rookie year. No other player has more than 12 seasons averaging over 25. Not bad for a pass-first player, right? In 2016-2017, if Russell Westbrook had 30, 10, and 10 in a game, his averages would go down. With Russell Westbrook, there is no in-between. He's either adored or hated by the fans. And when he's on the court, he has no friends and always goes 100 miles an hour. In 2016, after Kevin Durant decided Russ was not going to be in his next chapter, Westbrook went berserk. He played like a man possessed, and against all odds, he single-handedly willed his team to the playoffs. And he did it in a spectacular fashion by averaging a triple-double for the whole season, something that hasn't been done since Oscar Robertson in the 60s. Russ averaged 31.6 points, 10.7 rebounds, and 10.4 assists, which means that if he had 30, 10, and 10 splits in one game, his season averages would actually go down, which is bonkers. 10-game winning and losing streaks in one season. 10-game winning streaks happen almost every NBA season, and so do the 10-game losing streaks. But to manage both within the same year, that's something special, and it has been done only once, by the Phoenix Suns in 1996-1997. The Suns opened the season with 13 straight losses, after which they acquired Jason Kidd from the Dallas Mavericks. But he got injured in his first game as a Sun. When he returned, he led the team to a miraculous run, which included a 10-game win streak, and pushed the Suns to the playoffs as the 7th seed. And even though he was one of the best point guards ever, Kidd became an owner of one negative record as a member of the Suns. In a game against the Knicks in 2000, Jason turned the ball over 14 times, which is a record that still stands today. MJ never lost 3 games in a row in the 90s. Michael Jordan was a freak of nature, and as soon as he stepped a foot into the league, he had already been its most talented player. However, despite all the individual accolades and redefining endorsement deals for athletes, MJ never enjoyed playoff success in the 80s. It took Jordan 4 years to win his first playoff series, and once he did that, he got his bottom kicked by the Pistons for 3 straight years. But in the 90s, it was a whole different story. With Phil Jackson as head coach and the emergence of Scottie Pippen, the Bulls three-peated twice, and Jordan cultivated the aura of invincibility, going 6 out of 6 in the finals. Since the year 1990, the Bulls never lost 3 games in a row with Jordan in the lineup, which is just one of the many testaments to his greatness, scoring over 100 points for nearly 2 years straight. The Denver Nuggets are the epitome of run-and-gun basketball. Multiple iterations of the Nuggets were score first, play defense later, or never, and they produced some of the most attractive basketball teams ever. The Alex English and Kiki Vandeweghe era in the 80s was succeeded by equally potent run-and-gun in the 90s, with the coach Paul Westhead, while the 2000s Nuggets gave us Carmelo, Iverson, and J.R. Smith, all shooting away without conscience and with optional defense. Their current squad, with Jokic and Murray, is also more offense-oriented. And because run-and-gun has always been the theme in Denver, it's not surprising that they own several NBA records for points. The highest scoring game in NBA history was the 186-184 triple overtime outing between the Nuggets and the Pistons in 1983. The highest scoring regular season game with no overtime was between the Warriors and the Nuggets in 1990, where Golden State defeated Denver 162-158. And maybe the most unusual Nuggets record is the 136-game streak of scoring more than 100 points in a game, which started on January 21, 1981, and ended December 8, 1982. Almost 2 years later. In comparison, in the last 25 years, there hasn't been a 100-plus scoring streak longer than 37 games.